purpose does the gentlewoman from Illinois seek recognition?
I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentlewoman opposed to the joint resolution?
I am opposed.
The gentlewoman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. Kelly of Illinois moves to recommit the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution
I'd like to
76.
dispense with the reading.
Is there objection?
No objection.
No objection. Without objection, the reading is dispensed with.
Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
from New Jersey.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve a point of order on the gentlewoman's
The
motion.
gentleman's point of order is reserved. The gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized for 5 minutes to support her motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment is a long overdue common sense improvement that has bipartisan support in this House and has the majority of support of the American people. If my amendment passes, it will end this costly and irresponsible government shutdown and reopen the entire federal government so that we may once again appropriately serve the American people. As written, the bill before us offers the men, women, and children we represent little comfort. This piecemeal approach to funding the government is hurting folks in all of our districts. How can we commit to protecting nuclear security but not commit to the security of our federal government by completely funding it? How can we protect nuclear weapons but furlough our intelligence personnel who serve on the front lines in defending us from terrorist attacks? Why are we paying hard-working federal employees who want to get back to work to stay at home and not to do the jobs our nation depends on them to do? As we sit here voting to fund bills bit by bit, our constituents are being dealt the full blow and consequences of this shutdown. They can't afford for this shutdown to drag on. As we mull over whether it's more important to get our food inspectors back on the job or for Americans' veterans to have their benefits claims processed, the piecemeal approach isn't working. The gimmicks must stop. As we discuss nuclear weapons security, I was reminded of the movie War Games. This was the 80s movie with Matthew Broderick as the slacker hacker facing off against a supercomputer that's programmed to go to war when it doesn't even know what it's fighting for. I'll allow a quick second for a spoiler alert and summarize. After several failed attempts at starting a global nuclear war, the computer runs through all the possible scenarios, all of which end in stalemates, before it discovers the concept of mutually assured destruction. The very simple concept that the war it was trying to launch was an exercise in futility because it would destroy the U.S. in the process. A strange game, the computer says. The only winning move is not to play. And that's where we find ourselves as a nation, headed toward a mutually assured destruction at the hands of an ideological few programmed to go to war when they don't even know the risk of the game they're playing and the consequences of their fight. We've had a week go by without the lessons resonating that there are no winners in funding scenarios that have been brought to the floor. And the American people are losing out worst of all. But this isn't a game. This is reality. This isn't a fictional 80s movie. This is the United States of America in October of 2012. For the past week, we have pursued a fundamentally inept method for reopening the government. Today, we need to pay particular attention to one number, 79. That's how many different appropriations bills the House and Senate will have to pass to fund the full non-defense portion of the federal government, given the rate of funding in the bills passed or announced in the House of Representatives so far. The men, women, and children in my district and all of our districts are dealing with the taxing reality of a shutdown government. We can't cherry pick who to fund and who not to fund bit by bit. I ask all of you to vote yes on this motion because Congress has a duty to offer the security of a functional government to our families, our veterans, and our economy. Vote yes on this motion and vote yes to open up all of our government right now.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Speaker, I make a point of order that instructions contained in the motion violate Clause 7 of Rule 16, which requires that an amendment be germane to the bill under consideration. As the Chair most recently ruled on October 10th, the instructions contain a special order of business within the jurisdiction of the Committee on Rules, and therefore the amendment is not germane to the underlying bill. Mr. Speaker, I insist on my point of order.
The gentleman insists on his point of order. To speak on the point of order,
I
the
request to be heard on the point of order. Mr. Speaker, doesn't the bill before us fund a portion of the federal government? My motion to recommit would open up the entire federal government so that all of the benefits taxpayers have paid for which their hard-earned dollars are available. Can the chair explain why it's not germane to open up all of the government instead of just a portion of the government? Mr. Speaker, if you rule this motion out of order, does that mean we will not have a chance to keep the entire federal government open today? Can the chair please explain why we can't keep the entire federal government open today?
The chair is prepared to rule. The gentleman from New Jersey makes a point of order that that the instructions proposed in the motion to recommit offered by the gentlewoman from Illinois are not germane. The joint resolution extends funding relating to the National Nuclear Security Administration. The instructions in the motion propose an order of business of the House. As the chair most recently ruled on October 10, 2013, a motion to recommit proposing an order of business of the House is not germane to a measure providing for the appropriation of funds, because such a motion addresses a matter within the jurisdiction of a committee not represented in the underlying measure. Therefore, the instructions propose a non-germane amendment, and the point of order is sustained. The gentlelady from Illinois.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
The question is, shall the decision of the chair stand as the judgment of the House? For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey rise?
Mr. Speaker, I move to lay the appeal on the table.
The question is on the motion to table. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
I ask for yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those in favor of voting by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having arisen, the members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, the 15-minute vote on the motion to table will be followed by a 5-minute vote on the passage of the joint resolution, if arising without further proceedings in recommittal. This is a 15-minute vote.